In a bold move that's got transparency advocates up in arms, the Albanese Labour government is set to slam the door on your right to know, proposing fees for every freedom of information request and new shields to hide cabinet secrets and public servant advice, turning Australia's open government promise into a paywall of secrecy that could bury scandals like Robodebt forever. But what if this isn't about protecting resources, but shielding power from prying eyes in an election year? Welcome to Aussie Political Updates, your raw feed of Aussie political intrigue. Subscribe quick and smack that notification bell to stay one step ahead of the spin. Step into the dimly lit corridors of Parliament House on a crisp September morning in 2025, where Attorney General Michelle Rowland, with her trademark poise and a stack of reform papers, unveils what she calls a modern overhaul of the dusty 1982 Freedom of Information Act, but critics howl it's a stealthy power grab dressed as efficiency. Picture the scene. Rowland, flanked by public servants who've toiled under a barrage of over 1 million hours processing requests last financial year, declares the system stuck in the fax machine era, before emails and smartphones flooded the scene with anonymous spam and vexatious barrages. One shadowy entity alone bombarded with 580 requests, hijacking an entire team for 3 grueling months. Her solution: legislation dropping Wednesday, introducing application fees for FOI bids to ministers and departments, banning faceless requests to weed out bots and foreign meddlers, and erecting tougher barriers around deliberative documents, those juicy memos of government brainstorming and public servant counsel that could expose the inner workings of policy blunders. Cabinet confidentiality gets a clarification too, tightening when docs can be locked away as sacred, echoing the Robodebt Royal Commission's scathing expose of how officials abuse this loophole to stonewall inquiries into the automated welfare debacle that wrecked lives and cost millions. Labour's pitch is pragmatic: promote real transparency while curbing misuse, with Cabinet Secretary Mark Butler chiming in about AI-generated floods possibly tied to criminal gangs or overseas actors, insisting modest charges align with cost recovery like state governments already do. Yet, as the bill hits the floor, the opposition erupts. Shadow Attorney General Julian Leeser brands it a transparency tax, a shameful pay-to-play scheme from a government already dodging Senate estimates with evasion manuals, vowing to grill for briefings and potentially block it without crossbench buy-in. The Greens and independents like David Pocock circle warily, demanding scrutiny amid Australia's lagging transparency record, worse even than Morrison's era per the Centre for Public Integrity. Human Rights Law Centre's Kieran Pender drops the surprise bombshell: instead of clamping down, Labor should fix whistleblower protections and slash draconian secrecy laws, warning these tweaks could make accessing vital info, like personal decisions affecting 72% of requests or journalistic probes into official misconduct, even pricier and rarer. Back in 2010, reforms birthed the office of the Australian Information Commissioner as an open government champion, but now, with over 34,000 federal requests yearly and journalists leaning on FOI for accountability, this feels like a U-turn. Rowland's statement paints it as balanced evolution, but whispers in the hall suggest election timing, mere months from polls, might be fueling fears of burying unfavourable data. As journalists and citizens gear up to test the waters, the narrative thickens. Will these changes streamline or suffocate the public's watchdog role, especially when 72% of requests are everyday folks seeking answers on life-altering bureaucracy? But hold on, as the ink dries on this reform blueprint, a larger storm brews. What if these FOI shackles spark a backlash that topples Labour's transparency cred, reshaping how we hold power to account in the lead-up to the vote? Thanks for riding along with Aussie Political Updates, your no-BS source for the gritty truths of Aussie politics. If this secrecy shake-up has you fired up, crush that like button, spread the word to your network, and subscribe with bells on to catch every parliamentary plot twist. You tell me, smart fix or democratic dodge? Spill in the comments, and we'll reconvene for the next revelation.